Chapter 3, the Fischer endgame. The endgame with rook against bishop, against rook and knight, where the side with the bishop has the advantage, is also called sometimes Fischer endgame in the literature, due to the many great games which Bobby won again, especially against the Soviet grandmasters. And the most famous is probably this one, where he was white against Mark Taimanov in the 4th round of the candidates quarterfinal 1971. Yeah, how to defend with black to move. This is a very important moment. b6 or king d6. And as Kasparov gives in his excellent On My Great Predecessors Volume 4 on Fischer, king d6 must be played here to avoid further weaknesses on the light squares. And now it's not so clear. White is slightly better, of course, as the bishop is better than the knight, but Kasparov thinks that black has good practical drawing chances, and I agree. Now it's not so easy for white's bishop to find targets, especially as this is bad due to rook b8. And this would be a further mistake than now the bishop is sidelined. Yeah, this would be very bad, but okay, in any case, it should be, black has good practical drawing chances. b6 was a mistake. Bobby played bishop f1, and now black must make a further concession, as rook a8 can be met by bishop c4. So a5 is necessary, but this is another fatal weakening of the light squares on the queen side. Now Bobby starts his power play. What first? First improve the king. Yeah, of course, further into this typical geometrical formation. Okay, now some checks follow, just to gain time on the clock and to show who is boss. Yeah, now, but what now? Bobby continues his main strategy to restrict the knight. c3, a strong prophylactical move. Now most of his pawns are on dark squares to complement the bishop, take away further squares from the knight. This is a typical attacking technique. If the bishop is better, then often the pawns should be placed to complement the bishop like this, and to take away further squares from black's the opponent's pieces here, blacks, and in this case, of course, dark squares. And now Bobby fixed the queen side. A weakness that can't be exploited is no weaknesses, and the knight can't attack the a4 pawn, while now all light squares on black's queen side are weak forever, and the bishop and the king threaten to invade there in the long run. And black has problems to regroup the knight. This is a major problem. Sometimes the knight can really be very clumsy. Now, for psychological reasons and Zugzwang reasons, Fischer plays h3. In principle, of course, he wants to get his pawns to h4 and g5, but h3 doesn't hurt. He wants to have black to move in this position. And in principle, one plan is, of course, g4, g5. But don't rush, just take your time, or Fischer takes his time. As black has no real counterplay, this is an important endgame principle. Okay, h5, but otherwise white will make progress there anyway. How to continue? Rook d5 to force further pawns on light squares, so that weaknesses will remain on the king's side forever, which can be attacked by the bishop. Now another critical position is reached, and Taimanov sealed rook d6 as the game was adjourned here. But now he made a mistake, and it's very surprising, as the Soviet analysis of adjourned positions was normally extremely well, but here he made a major mistake. What do you do? King d8 or rook f6 or something else? King d8 is a fatal error. After the exchange of rooks, white is winning by force, as Fischer had established in his adjournment analysis. In the high sense, it's now game over. We will see. Unresolved suggestion, rook f6 is better. And the idea is then to play check and to avoid the exchange at all. Charles Sullivan has sent me a lot of analysis here, very extensive, and I published it in Endgame Corner 106. Charles thinks that white always wins, but as there are so many rook endgames, this is really very, very difficult. It's likely, but yeah, it might not be 100% clear. But black must play like this. If there is a win for white, it's much, much more difficult than in all other lines, as there are not so many open invasion roads now. This front is very small. Okay, the analysis is also given on the database on this DVD, and I had to cut it out here for reasons of space. In this moment, king d8, by the way, would be a mistake, which was given in my book on Fischer in the English edition, but before the book presentation in Amsterdam, which was organized by Hannah Russell, I fortunately noticed it and could correct it for the German edition and for the Endgame Corner article. Amazingly, now the rook ending is won. But okay, this can be overlooked as you don't give away this beautiful bishop so easily. But here, and rook endings have a large drawish tendency, but this is an exception. White wins. White is too active, black has absolutely no counterplay, and white can always invade successfully. So yeah, king d8 seems to be a very unfortunate move in this position somehow. If black could regroup now and could get his knight to d6, then he would have an eternal fortress. But d6 is so near and yet so far. And as this cannot be achieved, black is always losing, as Bobby had found out. Otherwise, Bobby wouldn't have exchanged rooks, of course. It's just really bad luck somehow. Now the king invades. This road cannot be closed as the knight is too clumsily placed. A real nightmare. Okay, for the moment the Soviets may have hoped for this, but of course Bobby spotted the trap and avoided it, and now white wins by invading with the king, by the combination of invading with the king and Zugzwang. There is no defense anymore anywhere. Yeah, there are more ways to achieve this. It doesn't matter so much. Bobby does it this way. Yeah, now finally the king can invade further. Active counterplay also loses, so I will stick to the game. Okay, but how to make so far so good, but how to make progress now? Bishop e8, this is a fatal final Zugzwang, because the only move, king d8, can be met by a transformation of advantages. The bishop can sacrifice itself, and then the knight is too slow to deal with white's play. The knight is in the knight check shadow, and white has two plans, either to advance his queenside pawns or to cross over with his king to the kingside. And there is no defense against this. The pawns are just marching forward. Again, of course, knight check shadow, and so Taimanov resigned. Now, this is I really like this game a lot, and this seems to be one of the most instructive examples of this whole Fischer endgame configuration, and the way Bobby restricted the knight further and further is really impressive, and then he shows the right moment to trade down to a 1 minor piece endgame.